The story begins in an isekai world where an assassin is on a mission when he suddenly senses another presence nearby. He looks up and freezes in disbelief as he recognizes that the figure before him is none other than the legendary silent assassin. Realizing that Lady Luck isn't on his side, he still refuses to hand over his target without a fight. The assassin darts around swiftly, throwing daggers with deadly precision, but they pass right through his opponent without leaving a single mark. Their blades clash, yet the silent assassin proves to be far beyond his league and effortlessly immobilizes him until his own sword falls on him from above, ending the battle in an instant. With his rival defeated, the silent assassin calmly approaches his target, who appears to be a corrupt noble trembling in fear while sleeping. The silent assassin takes his stance to finish the job once and for all. The story then rewinds a bit back to a school on Earth where a guy named Tsukasa is busy sorting out his club budgets when a girl walks up and invites him to hang out. Tsukasa, being the hardworking student council president, politely declines and apologizes, explaining that he's too busy. The whole class seems lively, filled with laughter and small talk, but our MC, Akira Oda, quietly sits in a chair reading an isekai manga. Nanase curiously asks him about it, but Akira barely responds and doesn't bother much. It's clear that our guy Akira is so invisible in class that most people don't even know he exists. Even Akira himself admits that he's practically non-existent and that whenever someone tries to talk to him, it feels unreal, like a glitch in his daily routine. But he never imagined how drastically that was soon going to change. Suddenly, his phone starts glitching, the screen flickers, and a dark magic circle appears above the classroom. Panic spreads everywhere, especially among the girls, as bright light envelops them and they find themselves teleported to an unknown place. Confused and terrified, some students whisper if it's a terrorist attack, but before they can make sense of it, an old knight in armor appears and asks them to shut up because the king wishes to speak. A girl asks if there's some cosplay going on. To answer all of their queries, the king himself explains that they've been summoned to a distant world called Morrigan. He continues, saying they now stand in Redacy, the greatest nation of the human continent, and that they were brought here to save this world from the looming demon invasion that only heroes from another world can defeat. Hearing this, some students, including our boy Akira, can't hide their excitement as it feels just like the classic isekai stories they've always loved to read. The old geezer calls them one by one to place their hand on the orb and check their status, saying that only one among them can become the hero. The first to rush forward is a guy named Daisuke Waki, too eager to wait any longer. His class turns out to be Tamer, but the geezer reassures him that his stats far surpass those of normal humans in this world, meaning he can still support the hero and become a champion. Next, a girl named Yuki Ueno steps up and turns out to be a Dispel mage. One by one, students reveal their classes, some becoming knights, others healers, and all sorts of roles filling up the ranks. The geezer keeps recording their results while the rest grow impatient until he finally reveals that they can check their status without even touching the crystal. Everyone immediately opens up their status screen, curious about their roles. A guy asks Akira about his class, and our boy calmly replies that he's an assassin. The guy mocks him, saying it fits him perfectly, but Akira doesn't react. Instead, he's quietly troubled as he compares his stats to everyone else's. For some strange reason, his numbers are completely broken, far beyond anything normal, at least 10 times stronger than any of his classmates. Just then, Tsukasa Sato excitedly steps up to the orb, and the president's status is revealed as the chosen hero. The whole class bursts into excitement, and the old geezer proudly explains that Tsukasa's stats are already double the maximum attack power of any knight in their world. Akira stays uneasy because even the hero's stats turn out to be lower than his own. The strange gap makes him doubt the whole story about the Demon Lord, and he starts suspecting that the king and the princess might be hiding something. He decides it's best not to reveal his broken stats to anyone. When he checks his skill board, he notices a skill named Conceal Presence, and after using it, he vanishes completely. Once everyone's stats and abilities are recorded, they're told to rest for the day. Akira quietly slips away, but as he trails behind his classmates, he notices a camera placed above them, which only raises his suspicions even more. He keeps moving carefully, though it seems like a soldier dressed in white notices something unusual. Eventually, he finds an abandoned room and makes it his temporary hideout, hoping no one else discovers it. Later, he heads out to gather information about this world. Looking around, he realizes it truly feels like an isekai world. As he tests his movements, jumping from place to place, he's amazed by how absurdly strong and fast he's become. He wonders if these boosts are part of the summoning benefits. Suddenly, he senses someone nearby and immediately conceals himself to investigate. From the shadows, he overhears the king plotting with the princess, telling her to make sure the newly summoned students stay away from the archives, since he doesn't want them gaining any unnecessary knowledge about this world. Akira feels certain that the king is up to no good and even considers assassinating him to put an end to everything, but he hesitates and decides to hold back for now. The next morning, he keeps his concealed presence skill active while secretly eating the breakfast snacks. He thinks about warning his classmates, but knows the chances of them believing him are very low. Meanwhile, the so-called hero Tsukasa is busy giving a grand speech, encouraging everyone to accept the king's proposal and defeat the demon lord. Akira finds it ridiculous how easily they trust the king and the princess without any proof of their sincerity. Later, during their first training session, the Knight Commander Seren Mithray arrives and introduces himself to the summoned students. He explains that they will be training for a month before entering the underground labyrinth and that he plans to personally guide them through actual combat experience. While Akira secretly observes them, he decides to sneak away again to gather more information. However, Seren soon notices something and instructs his subordinate Gilles to take over the training while he goes after the hidden observer. He follows Akira to a nearby fountain and suddenly speaks up, startling him by asking if something is bothering him. Akira grows tense, wondering if his concealment skill has worn off, but Seren calmly explains that his concealment is still active. The only reason he found him is because of his special eyes that can detect differences in temperature. Seren reveals that these are a type of mystic eyes, and in a surprisingly kind tone, he assures Akira that there is nothing to worry about. Akira still finds the man sus and bluntly asks if he is not working with the king. The knight smiles faintly and replies that he has his own problems before winking at our boy, telling him to keep their talk a secret from the king. As they sit together, Akira requests permission to access the archives so he can learn more about this world. Seren instead asks what level Akira's concealed presence skill is and is left stunned when he hears that it is already maxed out. Akira admits that all his other skills are still stuck at level 1 and that he has no idea how to raise them. Seren offers to teach him personally, saying that there is not much of real value in the archives anyway. Even though Akira gets a bit excited about the whole Isekai situation, his thoughts drift back to his own world and the family waiting for him there. Seren promises that he will help Akira become a first-rate assassin and even find a way back to his world, but in return, he wants to learn about the knowledge of Akira's homeland. The two shake hands with a smile, and a new bond of friendship is formed. Days pass as Seren keeps his word, teaching Akira everything from how elves and beastmen live on separate continents to how strengthening one's core is the key to improving combat ability. He explains that while class levels only rise through defeating monsters, skill levels can be trained and refined through constant practice. When Akira talks about the wonders of planet Earth, the commander listens with fascination. The idea of shops, airplanes, and information being shared across the world in seconds leaves him speechless. Akira laughs lightly, admitting that he used to think those things were ordinary but now realizes their true importance after losing access to them. As time moves on, a full month of training passes. Gilles starts complaining to his commander for dumping all the training work of the students on him while he spends his days with Akira. Seren argues that Akira is far too interesting to ignore and that his stories about his home world are equally captivating. He even reveals that Akira's world is the same one where the first hero came from, and on top of that, Akira's concealment skill is already maxed out. Gilles looks shocked, pointing out that only the first hero had ever reached such a level. Just then, there's a knock at the door, and Akira walks in. He explains that he has been sneaking into the archives and reading nonstop, but now he has found something troubling and came to ask about it. The commander chuckles and admits that he's the one who wrote that document, disguising it as a cookbook. He adds that he had a feeling Akira would eventually find it. When Akira presses for details, Seren reveals that the king is a wicked man trying to twist the laws of the world, even if it means destroying everything in the process. Seren continues by saying that even the Order of Knights carries its own grudges against the crown. Akira has already figured out what he means and knows that the commander is planning to remove the king in a more peaceful way. Our boy admits that he could have taken the king out the very day he was summoned to this world, but he hesitated and just couldn't. He explains that he doesn't want his mother and sister to see him as a murderer when he returns home. The commander reassures him that being an assassin by class doesn't mean he has to act like one. Hearing those words warms Akira's heart as he admits that no one has ever treated him this kindly before. The commander smiles and says he will need Akira's help with something before sending him back to his world. As the story moves forward, the entire summoned group prepares to enter the Great Labyrinth of Kantanen. Seren gives a speech, urging them to hold their heads high as heroes. Seeing the public cheering for them madly, Akira finds it ridiculous how much excitement the crowd is showing over what is basically just a trial run in a maze. While walking, he senses a strange presence nearby and appears before a blue-haired girl. Startled, she questions what he's doing there and then counters by asking if he even realizes how many sacrifices were made just to summon them. After a short exchange, she turns to leave, saying that she feels their paths are bound to cross again soon. Later that day, the summoned class continues battling their way through the dungeon, triggering traps and fighting wave after wave of monsters. Everyone starts getting exhausted, and Akira suggests to Sauron that they should retreat for the day. The commander agrees, saying they've done enough. Sauron then unleashes a powerful technique to clear a path, but as they climb the stairs, another group of monsters appears, blocking their escape. Tsukasa begins to panic before remembering the small orb the princess gave him, which could be used as a smoke bomb for emergencies. He throws it, creating a thick cloud, and for a moment, everyone thinks they might finally escape, but their hope fades when a massive minotaur steps out of the shadows. Gilles and the others are shocked, saying that kind of monster shouldn't even appear on this floor. Akira quickly jumps between the walls using his agility and tries to strike the minotaur, but his blade snaps against its hide, forcing him to retreat. He rushes back to check on Tsukasa, who's already injured with a broken arm, yet is still worrying about the others. Akira grabs a sword from a nearby classmate and dashes toward the beast, yelling at the hero to stop pushing himself so hard. When Tsukasa starts acting strangely, Akira realizes something is wrong and orders the Dispel mage to use her magic on him. As she casts the spell, a curse visibly breaks, freeing Tsukasa from its effect. Without wasting a second, Akira leaps back into battle and tells Seren that he wants to try something special. The commander immediately understands and joins in, launching a bright, thunderous attack to distract the Minotaur, while Akira moves to its opposite side and activates his shadow magic.